Poetry is what you find in the dirt, in the corner, over here on the bus, guarding the details.
My name is Jonathan Davidson and I run a company called Midland Creative Projects. We do a lot of creative work around the West Midlands, as the name suggests, but we're particularly interested in doing projects which can help bring poetry to new audiences.
I am fine as anything in this legendary garden, yet I'm nothing till she runs her fingers through me and shapes me with her skill.
We started about 12 years ago and we were working with a publisher called Blood Axe Books, who are based up in Northumberland, and Blood Axe have a similar ethos to us. They're interested in people enjoying contemporary poetry, not being frightened by it, and we realised what they were trying to do was what we were interested in doing, which is to present poetry without the barriers that people normally put in front of it, to give people a chance to enjoy the emotion that poetry gives you, and to acknowledge that actually if you just hear the words and don't understand them, then it really is of no use to you. You need to understand what's going on.
Someone else cut off my head in a golden field. Now I am recreated by her fingers. This moulding is more delicate than a first kiss.
The most recent show we've done is with their final anthology in the trilogy of anthologies they've done called Being Human. And that anthology, the same principle, 500 wonderful poems. They are poems which represent every critical moment in any person's life, and also poems which, perhaps in a single verse of only 20 lines, represents the muddled complexity of all our lives, the fact that things are never perfect, but there are great moments, and if you stop and look around you for a moment, you can find something to enjoy in life.
Spring lies desolate. The velvet dark ditch crawls by my side without reflections.
We also realised pretty quickly that you can use music, you can use lighting and projections to just create a little sense of what the flavour of the poem is, just to prepare people for it.
Let her go, boys, swing her head round into the weather.
Our next performance, our next production is going to be called The 100 Years' War, and in common with the other productions, it is based on an anthology of poetry being published by Blood Axe Books. Blood Axe have been gathering poems for a number of years now, but they reflect the experience that ordinary people have had in this world, on this planet, from war over the last 100 years. But it will have poems from the First World War, but it will have poems from all the, sadly, hundreds of wars that we've had since 1914.
The war continues, working night and day.
It inspires tyrants to deliver long speeches,
Awards medals to generals.
and themes to poets.
It contributes to the industry of artificial limbs.
Provides food for flies.
Adds pages to the history books.
Achieves equality between killer and killed.
It teaches lovers to write letters.
Accustoms young women to waiting.
Fills newspapers with articles and pictures.
Builds houses for the orphans.
Invigorates the coffin makers.
Gives grave diggers a pat on the back.
And paints a smile on the leader's face.
The war works with unparalleled diligence. Yet no one gives it a word of praise.
We'll be looking at those contemporary references, how war poetry connects with politics and people's lives now, in 2014, in Coventry, in the Midlands, in England, as well as how it affected people 100 years ago.
A man filled with the gladness of living put his keys on the table.
A man filled with the gladness
flowers
of
in a
living
cup
put
of
his
bowl
keys
there.
on the table.
A man who
There
says
is
no
no
gladness
cup
of
of
living,
there.
put his keys on the
He
table.
put his
Put
eggs
there
in
the
the
light
flowers
that came
in a
into
coffee
the
bowl
window.
there.
Put there the light.
Put his
Sound
eggs
of
in the
bicycle
on the table.
Sound of a
Sound
spinning
of
There
a
the light that came into
soft
the window.
bread and the
Sound of
weather.
a bicycle. Sound of a
softness of
spinning
bread.
wheel.
The table the man
Softens
brings
the
it.
bread.
So The 100 Years' War is a co-production with the Belgrade Theatre and with Blood Axe Books, our publisher contacts. We're making the show in Coventry. The first night will be the 31st of October in the Belgrade on a Friday, and then we have 2 more shows on that Saturday, and then we tour nationally. So it'll tour around the UK, and hopefully no one will be too far away from a performance of The 100 Years' War.